This is episode number 99 of the Homeowners Show. Whether you're DIY or looking to hire, we're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is Craig Williams.
Hello, all of my young Homeowner Show friends. I'm glad that you could be with us on this excursion. I just slapped the table again with my ring. Dadgummit.
What I want to know is how you know all of these people are young.
Yeah, well, we have a very hip crowd here at the Homeowner Show, so I think that necessarily implies that they're young. And if they're not physically young, they're probably young in spirit,
Young at heart for
That's
sure.
Right. Yeah,
definitely.
They're out there skinny dipping and. What do young people do these days?
Well, I'll tell you this: if you have a pool, you're probably in it
right now.
It is so hot,
dude. I took a picture today of the thermostat in my truck.
Yeah,
106 degrees.
Oh my goodness! And
I had to peel the skin off the steering wheel.
Yeah, and here in Houston, like I know my friends in West Texas, for example, they're going 106. It was 113 up here, and I'm like, yeah, but your humidity was like 4.
Yeah.
Mine is like 50.
Yeah.
So, and that's only because it's hot enough.
Talk to me when you get some water, West Texas.
Yeah. I mean, that is actually a pretty low humidity for around here because it's so hot.
Yeah.
The humidity is actually burned off a little bit.
Yeah,
it's hot.
It's really hot.
So,
yeah, it's absolutely nuts.
Well, guess what?
What?
We are doing something pretty special right now.
Yeah?
Yeah, so if you haven't heard, you need to do something right now. It will benefit you, I promise, in multiple ways. So the first thing you need to do is scroll down to the show notes and click on the subscribe to our YouTube channel link now.
Click.
Yeah, do that right now because... so this is episode number 99.
Yep, the last of the double digits.
That's right. Next week, we are going to be giving away $100 live on the show to someone who has clicked that subscribe button for our YouTube channel. You need to go do that. So here's what you need to do. It's pretty simple. You need to go click that link and then share that status, share that page, share that post, share something.
Yeah, put it up on Facebook, Instagram, tag us in it so we can see it. Here's the deal, folks. If you just subscribe to the channel and you have your privacy settings set up, we can't see that you subscribed. So we need to be able to tell that you subscribed to the channel. We see people subscribing to the channel right now. It's growing like crazy, but we need to be able to see that you did it so that you can be entered in the drawing to win the $100.
Yeah, and if you don't know, one of the cool things about YouTube, in an era where people are really trying to steal your privacy, YouTube has set it up to where whenever you sign up for a YouTube account, your privacy settings are set to hide your subscriptions to those that you have subscribed to. So if you subscribe to us, we may not be able to see it if that link is on. Now, if you want to go change it, that's great. You can go into your settings and go over to privacy and click that little toggle button and we'll be able to see. But either way, all you got to do, it's real simple. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, share, and we will enter you into the drawing for $100.
But also, by the way, feel free to comment on any of those videos, share any of those videos, watch some of those videos, and just in general, be a good, fan of the Homeowner Show. Do that. Do those things.
Yeah, because one of the things the reason we're doing this, other than it's our 100th episode, we're celebrating. Woo! We're excited. So we're wanting to, share the love a little bit. But that being said, we're producing quite a bit of more and better content on YouTube than we have before, and we're just going to try to push you to that and give you more of that content. So,
like giant bullies of the internet.
Yeah, only you get to control it. So
yeah, that's true.
The other thing you can do, and this is not a requirement, but click the little bell right there next to the subscribe button. And that way you'll actually get notified when we upload new content. And we're not uploading just once a week like we do our podcast.
Correct.
We're trying to upload multiple times during the week. A lot of times we're taking a clip and we're, pulling it out and just saying, hey, this is kind of a funny thing that happened on the show.
Yeah. We're also doing some exclusive content just for the YouTube people.
Yeah.
So we've got a tool review coming up for the Ryobi nail gun. We've got a battery contest that's going to be coming up, which I think we're going to get into here in just a little bit. We're going to talk about some batteries.
That's right.
So there's going to be some content up on the YouTube channel you're not going to want to miss. And the reason we're doing it there is because we really can't do some of that stuff just audio. And so we wanted to be able to open it up to do some different things that we haven't been able to do thus far with just the podcast.
You remember that time when we did an unboxing? Well, one of the things we actually talked about doing today is like reminiscing on our last 99 episodes or 98 episodes.
What was it that we tried to unbox?
It was the Amazon
it was the
subwoofer thing, and we
forgot to turn the camera on or something, didn't we?
To turn the camera on. So I'm not joking. I'm sitting here unboxing this thing. I'm talking about it, and I've got it picked up, and I'm
being very animated with it too.
I'm showing it to the camera. I'm like turning it around. I'm like, ooh, open it up, and we get done with it, and I'm like, hey, Craig, I got good news and bad news, and he's like, what's that? And I said, well, the good news is I think that was a pretty good episode. Like we did a pretty good job on that. And he's like, okay, what's the bad news? I never pressed the play button on the camera. So, hey, live and learn, figure some things out. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But we figured quite a bit out, and we're trying to push some more content for you. To give you some better information.
Absolutely. And also just in and all that, we appreciate you guys, which is why we're doing this $100 giveaway. We want to bless one of you with $100 to go, knock out a DIY project, or maybe, put that towards a good contractor or something like that you're trying to bring in your house to finish a project that maybe you've walked away from.
Yeah.
We want you guys to celebrate with us because we're excited. I mean, we didn't feel like we would ever make it to 100 episodes.
No, I mean, when you think about it, 1 week, 200 episodes, or 100 episodes, we're talking almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 full years.
So like four episodes after we do 100, it'll be 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Of content every single week.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. We're pretty excited about it.
And not only did we not think that we would make it to 100, we didn't think that we would have stuff to talk about after that. But we already we have stuff in the pipeline that we're still excited about talking about.
Yeah.
And having people in, especially with all this COVID stuff going on, because it's really changed home ownership radically. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are having to look at their homes in different ways.
You're living in your home.
Living and working in your home is just a whole different environment. And now, we've got some episodes coming up. Hopefully we've got some guests that, haven't quite signed on the line yet. So we're excited to bring them to you if we can get them to agree to come in. But talking about education stuff.
Yeah.
And how potentially your home is now going to be a public school.
Sure. I mean, for the first time that I know of, we're going to have this option to learn from home. Mm-hmm. And not only that, we've got more people working. Their business has said, we're not coming back.
Yeah.
Maybe ever, but for sure, a lot of them have already said through the end of the year. I mean, so here we are. We're in the middle of July. So thinking about not coming back to your office through the end of the 2020 year, I mean, your home suddenly becomes a completely different place for you.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of content to kind of dive into with all of that.
I'm actually curious with the whole virtual school, public school at home.
Yeah.
So will they be allowed to pray there?
I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, you think so?
I mean, who's going to stop them?
I mean, Big Brother's going to reach through and try and shut that down for sure.
Yeah.
No Jesus at home, because that's where school is now.
Sure.
Maybe it'll just be between the hours of 8 and 5.
Yeah, as long as you start your day with 0 hour at home, you pray during 0 hour, then you're
All
good.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Homeroom.
But also, if you like close your eyes, then nobody can see you.
Uh-huh.
And so therefore you can pray during that time
Just
as well.
duck your head out of the Zoom call.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can do it, just don't let anybody see you.
Right.
All right.
Cool.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have not already subscribed to our podcast, what are you doing? Go click on that now.
You're just freeloading at this point.
Yeah.
Give us those numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Go subscribe. That way, I mean, you're going to listen to us.
Yeah.
I hope so. So anyway, the other cool thing is, I mean, we're coming up on a pretty monumental number of downloads. So we're coming up close to 10,000 downloads, which is pretty cool.
That's massive.
So, yeah,
I don't think I've ever met 10,000 people.
I know I hadn't.
So
I guarantee I don't like 10,000 people. So.
Well, I'll tell you, I was crunching the numbers today, Kevin. Actually, if we fold in the views from YouTube with the podcast downloads, we're already at 10,000.
Oh, boom. Celebration. Where are the, confetti streamers, all that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna overlay that on the video right here. Some like confetti like flying down over you're in my faces here.
But like we made a goal of 10K by 100 on the actual podcast, the audio podcast.
Yeah.
So, and if you guys are listening to this, know that you can get that podcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts.
Right.
What's the other one? Spotify.
Spotify.
Yeah, it's on Spotify as well.
Yeah.
We have not gotten the Pandora approval yet.
That takes some time.
It's a wily coyote over there.
Yes, it is.
So we'll get there though.
That's right. Well, listen, we have got what we hope is a fun episode. I say
Full
it's
of
fun.
Controversy, speculation, conspiracy theories.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we put up a post about a week and a half ago at this point about various cordless power tools.
Yeah.
And asking people which one is your go-to. Which one do you like the most? And the four options were. Do you remember what they are?
We had DeWalt.
Yep.
We had Milwaukee. We had Ryobi.
Yep.
And we had Rigid.
That's right. So we had these four, and we had a couple of people. First of all, we had a lot of engagement on that, which is really awesome. Thank you for engaging with that. But some really strong opinions. We had a couple of people throw out like Craftsman,
Yeah.
Porter Cable, Makita.
I had that
some
one.
other ones.
I had that was I forget the brand, but that one guy that was like, "Where's the love for Harbor Freight?"
Yeah, I think I saw one on there was like Black and Decker. I'm like,
gosh.
Okay. I mean,
Well, so honorable mentions, because people there were several brands in that post, and I want to mention this because I think we've had like over 50,000 people engage with that post.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
It's been incredible.
People are very opinionated about their tools.
Yeah.
So Makita was a big one that kept coming up.
Yep.
Is it Hitachi?
Yeah, Hitachi.
Is it Hilti is the other one?
Yeah, Hilti is like it's like the Lamborghini,
Right.
I mean, it supposedly it's really high end,
Right. So that came up. Craftsman came up. Porter Cable came up. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that we, and it's not like we don't think that those are good tools.
It wasn't in the meme.
We literally went. Yeah, we just, the pictures were similar. It was just convenient. It was a convenient post, folks. I mean, honestly, I'll probably do another one with the brands that people mentioned.
Sure.
And then we'll probably take like the top 3 and see who actually wins.
Yeah.
We need to
Tally.
we need an official tally.
Yeah.
I'll say this, just based off what I saw, it's going to come down to between Milwaukee and DeWalt.
There is no doubt
on that post.
There was a lot of people that had a lot of horrible things to say about Ryobi.
Yes.
And Rigid was kind of like, it is interesting with Rigid because Rigid has something going for them.
They do.
That I did not realize.
Their people are very big fans, and according to them, for very good reasons.
Yeah,
I actually do have some Rigid power tools, and they're good tools.
Do you know what their big selling point on those is?
The warranty.
The warranty is insane.
Yeah.
The warranty is a lifetime warranty.
That's apparently no questions asked.
Right.
I mean, what a couple people were giving as a caveat was as long as you register, you just have to register the tools and the batteries, and as long as you do that, you should be in good shape because they're going to honor the warranty. And that came up over, and it wasn't just because. Here's the thing: if you guys go and find the post, it was A, B, C, or D. Right. It was really easy to respond to this post. Which one's your favorite? Mm-hmm. A, B, C, or D? And Rigid was A. And without fail, the people that picked A always felt obligated to write a sentence or two with that said A, because they have the frickin' best warranty ever.
Yep.
And some people went on to write a paragraph.
Sure.
So Rigid has done a really good job of developing some customer loyalty and customer service. And that was a theme that came up over and over and over again. The people that like Milwaukee and DeWalt almost seemed like they were in cults.
Yeah, and
because it was unwavering in it wasn't even a question of these don't even come close, they don't hold water, but they had no reason. I saw some people put some reasons. Some people with the DeWalts and the Milwaukees, I've dropped it in a pit of mud and I've dropped it off the side of a house and it still kept working and all this kind of stuff. But nobody was writing the kinds of things that people were writing about the Rigid system.
Right. No, they definitely were, and specifically with DeWalt, they were talking about its durability.
Yes,
that was really where that went. Milwaukee, we got a lot of comments on just the overall performance and the quality of that tool.
Yeah,
Ryobi is funny because a lot of people were saying everything from Ryobi is horrible, the worst ever, to it's great for DIYers.
Yeah.
And really everywhere in between was kind of where we landed on that.
That seemed to be an overarching theme with them as well. Is look, if you're not using this every single day, Ryobi's the way to go.
Yeah, and they have something going for them.
Oh, for sure.
And that's their product line. There's not another product, not another company in this conversation that has the sheer number of tools available.
Yeah, and that is absolutely true. But here's the thing: is I actually reached out to Ryobi because there was several tools that they have in their is One Plus. Is that the Yeah, they have several tools in the One Plus line that are just extremely intriguing.
Yeah,
very unique tools. Nobody else has tools like these. And so I reached out to Ryobi because none of my local vendors are carrying those tools. And so I reached out to them and I was like, hey, this is Craig. We at the Homeowner Show, we do this podcast. You guys have some very unique tools. I can't really seem to find them. Can you guys help point me in a direction? And they responded with, we're not really looking to sponsor a show right now. And I was like, well, listen, dummy, I'm not asking you to sponsor the show. I'm looking for some tools that you guys have that are unique, and I'd love to review them and kind of show them off to our audience because they're interesting. I want to see, how they work and all this kind of stuff. And they basically responded with, well, that's just something that we've developed. We don't really distribute that. And,
interesting.
And then one of the ones I asked about, they actually said, and it was a tool that they have listed on their website, which is their garage door opener.
Yeah.
Which they said they discontinued.
Why? Why?
I don't know.
That thing, I mean...
I mean, my guess is it didn't sell.
Well, I mean, that has to be the reason. But that thing, I mean, it looked absolutely amazing. If you've not seen it, so they're talking about how quiet it is, first of all, which... It's a big deal with garage door openers in general.
Sure.
Like the loudness of that thing is important. And it's like one of those deals where it's like, oh, honey's home. I hear the garage door open. You know, but this one specifically,
and it was Wi-Fi enabled.
Yeah, it was Wi-Fi enabled.
It was a smart garage door opener.
But there were two other things that were amazing about it. One of them is you could put one of the OnePlus batteries on it.
Yep.
And if you have a power outage, you've got power.
Right.
And it's a charger as well.
Yeah. So like if there was power, it would charge the battery.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also all these accessories.
Dude, it had the coolest accessories.
Yeah. Like, what were some of those?
So it had a laser guided parking system, right? So it was like basically two lasers that would come out the back end of the garage door opener and would shoot lasers down on the ground, so you would know where to park your car.
Right.
It also had an air compressor attachment where you could basically use air tools and fill up the tires on your car. Mm-hmm. It had a fan attachment. Mm-hmm. It had a Bluetooth speaker attachment. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones.
Light.
It had a motion sensor. It had a light. And then on top of that, it wasn't just Wi-Fi enabled. It had two functions on the Wi-Fi. One, you could get an app for your phone so that you could remotely open the door with your phone. But also it had wireless keypads that you could get with it as well. So you could have a code for the exterior with a wireless keypad. So you wouldn't have to run wires.
Right.
And you could have as many of those, buttons and keypads and all that kind of stuff for garage door openers.
Cool.
So no wires.
Yeah,
it was really cool, but and I asked him about it, and they're like, no, we just discontinued that. But they're still selling a lot of the accessories.
Interesting.
For it, and I think they're selling some of the accessories for it because you can power some of those with their battery.
Okay.
So the other one that I asked him about, which they said that they just don't distribute it, was a garage sweeper.
A garage sweeper.
Yes. And so I think probably the best way to conceptualize this or to describe it over the audio is think of it as a lawnmower for your garage.
Okay.
That's an electric broom.
Okay. Kind of like a Roomba? Like a
Roomba,
okay.
but you push it around.
Oh.
And it's got it's like a sweeper / vacuum cleaner kind of a deal. And it's got like a lawnmower handle on it, but you slap one of those OnePlus batteries in it and it sweeps the floor and sucks up all the dirt. And then it's got a tank on the back that you take off and dump in the trash. So you can clean your garage.
Interesting.
That way. It's really cool looking. Huh. But they have so many tools that. And so like once I was in communication with them and they started telling me that, I was like, well, how many of these? Because if you go to Home Depot, which I think Ryobi's only at Home Depot.
They are. Yeah.
Correct. If you go to Home Depot, they have way more Ryobi tools in that line than they do in any other one. Milwaukee might have just as many.
It depends.
In the store.
It depends on the store. So, like, for example, the Home Depot that you and I would go to in our area, Milwaukee, it is the primary Milwaukee distributor for the Houston area. Mm-hmm. So in all of Houston, this one has the largest selection of Milwaukee tools available.
Right.
So
I think I know for certain that Ryobi and Milwaukee are the same company.
Yeah.
I think Rigid is also in that group as well. I may be wrong, but I know for certain that Milwaukee and Ryobi are the same company.
Yeah.
And so they have kind of traveled similar paths on this whole tool system. The big difference would be that Ryobi has invested a little bit more into the lawn equipment. Mm-hmm. And because of that, they have a whole separate battery system for the lawn equipment. So I think it's a 40-volt battery for their weed trimmer, their blower,
lawnmower,
and I think the push mower. Yeah. Yes, but then they also have the zero turn, which has its own dedicated battery.
Right.
You kind of charge that thing like you would a Tesla.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that for a minute. So one of the things that really separates all of these is battery. Mm-hmm. In fact, the most expensive part of the entire thing, of the entire tool, is the battery.
In some cases. In other cases, no. I mean, like You're right. For the most part, yeah, the battery is the most expensive part. Some of the Milwaukee tools you get into, like the jackhammer, for instance, that standalone tool I think is like $400 or $500.
Sure, but from what I understand, and I've got an inside source who's told me this, the battery is the most expensive the most expensive part of the tool to create.
Oh, I would.
So
yeah.
So, for example, and I'm sure with these zero turns and all that kind of. Once you start getting into some of these tools, the parts are more expensive. Most likely. However, the batteries are the primary working part of that tool. Okay, it's the most important thing, which is why that we've gone away from these NiCad batteries to the lithium-ion batteries, because these lithium-ion batteries, they're just a lot more efficient. And so there's a couple of things that I think we should probably talk about when it comes to what makes up a battery.
Okay.
So for example, when you buy, let's say you go to Home Depot, you're looking at the Milwaukee. One of the things that you're going to find with that battery is that it works on every single one of their tools.
Right.
They've got an 18-volt battery, and it works for every single one of their tools. That's whether it's a drill or a flashlight or their trimmer.
And that seems to be their flag on the hill. I mean, that's the hill they want to die on and good for them, man. I think it's a smart play that every single thing that we come out with, this battery can plug into and power.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about it, one of the things you really have to make a determination on whenever it comes to buying let's say I need to go buy a drill. I don't have any tools. I need to buy a drill. You have to kind of think to yourself, what line do I want?
Right.
What I'm starting here on a line, and once I start, I'm going to have to completely shift if I want to go a different route.
For sure.
So if you start with Milwaukee, you're kind of set with Milwaukee. So what they've done that's really smart is they've said, listen, this battery is going to work for all of our hand tools, and it's going to work for all of our lawn tools. And that includes their chainsaw.
Yeah.
That includes their jackhammer. That includes their trimmer. That includes their blower. That includes all of those things as well as their flashlight.
And their miter saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like that's a crazy one to me. Like that big bench tool.
Yeah.
Will it work on just one, or does it take two?
It works one.
One.
Now, I will say that Ryobi also has.
They do have one of those.
A compound miter saw as well. But it uses two batteries.
Yes.
They're 18-volt batteries, but or are they 20-volt?
Those are 20-volt.
Yeah, they're 20-volt. The Ryobis are the 20-volt batteries, but it takes two of them. But still, I mean, what you're finding is that these companies are finding a way to extend their line out.
Yeah.
But there's two primary things you need to understand about a battery, and one of them is voltage. So we just talked about that. That Milwaukee has an 18-volt battery. Ryobi has a 20-volt battery. We've talked in other episode about my Ego trimmer.
Right.
Ego is a 56-volt battery.
Oh, is it really? I thought it was lower than that.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how many volts that thing carries. So what does that even mean, though? So
don't stick your tongue on it. That's what.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, think about that for a minute. I mean, you've got AA, AAA battery. You've got a 9-volt battery, a 6-volt battery, right? All of these sorts of things. I remember growing up, it's like, how do you test a 9-volt battery?
Yeah.
Put it on your tongue, right?
Yeah.
And got a little shock, or you didn't. Which one? But voltage simply means how much strength or how much power that battery can provide.
Right.
Okay, so it's sheer power. So there's another thing that you're going to read on these batteries, and it's amp hours. So a lot of times it's a big A and a little H. So you've got amp hours. And And basically that means how much fuel or how much charge that battery can store. Okay, so if, for example, you have a battery that's a 2 amp hour battery, it's still 18 volt battery. It's still going to produce 18 volts. If you pull the trigger on a drill, for example, pull the trigger and hold it down continuously. A 2 amp hour battery is probably going to give you full power, full 18 volts for about 1 hour. Okay. If you go up to a 4 amp hour battery, you're going to get about 2 hours out of that battery.
An equation developing.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Some of these batteries are providing like a 9.5, 10 amp hour battery. And so it's kind of amazing. For example, with those Egos, you're getting 56 volts and they've got a 7.5 amp hour battery.
Okay.
And they've got a 2.5 amp hour battery. It's the same battery as far as how much voltage you're getting out of. You're getting the same amount of power. You're just getting a different...
More or less time.
How big is the tank, for example?
Right.
So it's kind of the way that works. And so you kind of have to look at some of these batteries and you're going, oh man, I can buy that battery. It's only $65, or that battery, for some reason, that one's $95. What's the difference?
Well, and so one of the things that I mean, like we all recognize about batteries is that over time they degrade.
They do.
And so I guess like you may or may not have looked into this, but I mean, do you know if when batteries have a longer amp hour, do they degrade at the same?
So that's a really tough thing to answer, because these newer batteries are smarter. So, for example, I know with the Ego, for example, when it goes dormant, so to speak, it goes into what they call like a self-discharge. And so it will lower itself to a healthy place to maintain its life.
Okay.
So, if you're going to use a battery, you want it to be at 100% whenever you start using it. But there comes a point when you get below a certain threshold, a certain percentage left of that battery's power, or amp hours is probably the better way to say that. Once it's got less fuel in the tank, so to speak, if you leave it down there, it can die. And when it dies, you have to charge it back up. Otherwise, it could stay dead. Okay. That being said, most batteries have a threshold somewhere around 30% that if you're not using it, for example, through the winter and you've got a lawn tool, you're not using it, you can leave it on the charger. With a lot of these batteries, leave it on the charger through the duration and it will keep itself at 30%.
Okay.
Now, if you want to get it back up to 100%, you take it off the charger,
put it back
on the charger, and it'll charge itself back up. But then if you don't take it off, it'll self-discharge down to whatever that threshold is that they've pre-programmed into that battery, and it'll stay there to keep it from going dead on you.
Okay.
It's kind of like a trickle charger in some ways. A trickle charger really is helpful for batteries that you're not going to use,
This actually sounds very similar. I was talking to, do you remember Jordan, our guest, about he developed his own smart pool system?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he got a Tesla. So, and he's probably going to geek out that we're even talking because he listens to the show all the time. And he was telling me something similar, that you almost never want to have your Tesla fully charged.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He said it's not. I mean, like they tell you that in order to keep the health of the battery. So, and if I'm getting this wrong, Jordan, send me a message. I'll correct myself. But I think I remember this from our conversation, that he was saying you almost never want to have it fully charged, and that the system itself will actually keep it. You can get it fully charged, like if you're fixing to go on a long trip. Sure. He says, but most of the time you want to keep it like around 80%. And it's just healthier for the battery. But that's just part of the battery technology, like what you're talking about, the smart batteries that they've developed. I don't know what kind of batteries they're putting in Teslas. They're very sophisticated.
Yes, they are.
That I don't understand. I'm lucky to get the terminals right.
Well, yeah, I think that all of this just plays into when you're choosing a line of battery powered tools, picking which battery you're going to go with makes a big difference.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons Milwaukee's so great because, for example, if you choose to buy one of their lawn tools, you don't have to buy a different battery. Mm-hmm. You can use whatever battery you took off of your drill.
Now, let's distinguish, because I think this is an interesting point of distinction, because one of the reasons that Ryobi, when they went into the lawn tool, developed a whole new battery is because they needed one that had a little bit more oomph to it in order to do like a push mower.
Right.
And so you can use, and I can't remember what the voltage is. I want to say it's like 42 or something like that. Well, it's some weird number for their lawn equipment.
Okay.
Right. Milwaukee does not have a push mower.
Not right now.
So there's a certain threshold that they said, like, look, here's the line we can't cross just yet, but we can do all the rest of these tools.
Right.
So while Ryobi decided, we're going to use the same battery for our mower, our blower, and our trimmers, Milwaukee said, well, look, we just won't develop a line that requires that kind of power like a push mower. So we'll go ahead and just do everything else. So they do the trimmer and the blower and pretty much all the other yard tools, sans mower.
Right.
And you can use that same battery.
Yeah. What's really interesting, though, this is really interesting. When I was doing my research on the trimmer that I purchased, the two that I landed on, that I was back and forth on which one I liked more than the other, was the Milwaukee and the Ego.
Yeah.
Both of them had the best performance in that class of tools.
Yeah.
And one of them is using an 18-volt battery, and one of them's using a 56-volt battery.
Right.
And we're talking about these batteries are not comparable.
No.
Obviously, the difference in 18 and 56 is a huge amount of difference in how much power that battery produces.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's going to run longer. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could run the same amount of time as an 18-volt battery, but it's got more power.
Right.
But the way that Milwaukee has torqued their tools, they have given it an ability to spin, whatever rate it spins at, if it's a trimmer, for example. They've figured out a way to make that tool extremely powerful with only 18 volts.
Yeah. Well, and like I know I was telling you this earlier. I'm thinking about actually moving over to Milwaukee right now.
Yeah.
And not because of the trim or anything like that. I mean, like if I do, I'll probably end up getting one. Just why not?
Yeah.
At that point, because if you're dug in like a tick, just go ahead and go all the way.
Yeah.
But one of the, they have come out. They have probably the most innovative electric sprayer, which may not be a big deal to a whole lot of people. I use a sprayer pretty much every day.
Right.
And have you looked at this sprayer?
I have not.
So Ryobi also has an electric sprayer. And I don't think DeWalt has one. I'm pretty sure Rigid doesn't have one. The only two that I've found in their lawn equipment thus far would be Milwaukee and Ryobi. I'd be interested to see if Ego came out with one.
I don't think they have one right now.
So if you're listening out there, Ego, let me know, because I'd probably be a fan. I like your stuff so far.
Yeah.
But this Milwaukee one, here's what's cool about this one. One, it uses the 18 fuel battery.
Yep.
Two, it's electric, which means I don't have to pump it up. Three, it has two chemical tanks that are interchangeable.
What?
So you can have two different chemicals mixed up in two different tanks.
On your back?
Well, not at the same time.
Okay.
So I can have this one over here that's like an herbicide and this one over here that's a pesticide. And depending on what I need to do, I can just change those tanks out.
Oh, nice.
Or, you could, just have double mix of whatever you need. And when that one runs out, you just pack that one on there. So you're not having to like constantly go back and forth. So you have a lot of options there.
Can you buy extra tanks?
I would imagine so.
So, I mean, because it looks like if you could do that, if you just buy extra tanks and you could have a slew of those on your truck.
Yeah. And just
label them.
Get your stuff, ready to go for the day and just head out and make sure you got plenty of batteries.
Cool. Well, and not only that, one of the things that you were telling me that is so impressive about this sprayer specifically from Milwaukee is there's a 5-mode pressure adjustment knob.
Yeah.
That adjusts the pressure between 20 and 100 psi.
Yeah.
And for you, that's huge, isn't it?
Massive.
I mean,
yeah.
Why is that important?
Because you need lots of different options. Because at least in our business, I mean, like you have to be able to reach high places. You have to be able to, it's not just the pressure either. It's also the fan tip.
Okay.
And that's adjustable on the Milwaukee as well. And so you can adjust the nozzle as to how it's spraying. And so you typically tighten it in order to create a wider, finer mist, or you loosen it in order to create more of a pin stream.
Okay.
And you use that pin stream in order to, you build up the pressure and then you shoot really, really high to hit like second story eaves and different things like that. And so you need the ability to reach and put chemicals in different places for different applications. And so like what I use, what has been the best backpack sprayer on the market for years is the Steel. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what what you try and put it up against. There's nothing out there right now that compares like the Steel.
Right.
And there's just nothing. And let me also put this message out there to Milwaukee, Ryobi, and Ego, and Rigid, and DeWalt, and all these kind of companies. The other thing that Steel makes that's just amazing is a backpack blower with a chemical tank on it that we use for mosquito fogging.
Oh.
And so I don't see any reason why they couldn't come up with a battery-powered version of that as well.
Interesting.
Which would be absolutely fantastic. If they had that, I would buy them all day, every day, 5 of them a year. That would...
All day, every day, y'all. If he would buy these all day, every day. He's got an endless supply of money, and
when it comes,
you would never have to sell to anybody else.
You wouldn't, because I would dominate the market with one of those.
You would definitely be able to do it more quickly than anybody else,
and cheaper.
Yeah,
I really would. And so I don't know if they're working on a product like that. If you need my help developing it, I'd be happy to show you all the problems with the one that I currently have, because I use a Steel, and the Steel is a great product.
Sure.
But it has its issues.
Sure.
But there's no one's ever really, I think Echo has a product like that one as well. But anyway, where was I going with all that? Tim?
I don't know, but I will tell you this. You can buy just the tank for that.
Oh, you looked it up?
I looked it up.
How much is the tank?
It's $150.
Oh, dang, that's
so
expensive.
it's a little bit expensive, but it comes with the tank and the sprayer. So when you change that tank out, the sprayer handle nozzle, that's all part of that tank.
Oh, is it really?
So
That was not clear in some of the videos I watched.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that actually is helpful for is you don't have to clear the line.
Well, that's true.
Before
you don't have to
spray something else.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because one of the things that you get with some chemicals is cross contamination.
Sure,
you can actually ruin an application by having a contrary chemical that you've used previously.
Yeah, but and I would think though that depending on the application for you specifically, you're doing this all day, every day. I would assume that you could probably do the math on how many of these you might need.
Sure.
And obviously you're probably refilling through the day, but if you had a supply, then you're still saving time by filling, switching, all of those sorts of things, by just grabbing a tank, plopping it down on the battery pack. There you go.
Yeah.
And you're probably not very far into the life of this tank before you've paid for the $150.
Probably not.
So you do the math on that.
Yeah. So,
well,
Well,
So
and let's circle back around because we mentioned rigid
yeah,
a while back, and like the upside is that we kept talking about was like the warranty on this thing.
yeah,
The downside is sort of what we've been talking about this whole time is just selection in general. They don't have a whole lot of tools.
yeah.
I mean, they have all the standards. I think they have like a sawzall. I'm pretty sure they have like a jigsaw, circular saw, drills, impacts, and different things like that. Which, I mean, like, I think, honestly, if you're talking about for like the DIY person, the rigid may actually be a better way to go.
Yeah.
Because not many people are going to have much use for all the specialty tools that Ryobi has, but for general use, I mean, if you're not using them all the time, it can be really frustrating to walk up on a tool and have it not work. But if you have the assurance of a lifetime warranty that, you walk up on the tool, it's not functioning like it was before, that company's going to stand behind that tool and replace it.
Sure.
That may actually be a better choice in the long run for the homeowner if they're, primarily looking at basic saws and drills, because it's a good product.
Sure.
I mean, we use them and they've always been outstanding tools.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally own the Ryobi One system. When I got married, my buddies got together and threw me a tool shower, which is awesome.
That is awesome.
And so if you're out there and you got a buddy who's getting married, throw him a tool shower. He will love you forever.
Yeah.
So I got all kinds of stuff. Like I got a table saw and like I got a drill and a whole drill bit set, and I got a circular saw and like a corner sander and a belt sander, and like I got all kinds of stuff that was awesome. But they were smart, and they bought all of them in the Ryobi line.
Okay.
And so for me, I got started for free because I had awesome buddies. One of them I know is a regular listener. So Zach, I'm giving you a shout out. Thank you for participating in that. I still have a lot of those tools, and I use them. And I've built my tool collection off of that because I was set up early in my life to have those things. And so since then, I've just kind of stayed in that line because, again, the most important part of that tool is the battery.
Right.
And I bought those batteries. I've got extras of those batteries now. And so for me to go buy Milwaukee at this point doesn't make sense for me unless I sell all of those tools,
right, and
then start on a Milwaukee line, because the battery is the primary part of that tool.
Yeah.
So, since then, dude, I've got some pretty cool tools that I use. I've got a nailer stapler combo. I've got a hedge trimmer, and I've got it's a
battery operated.
It's a battery operated hedge trimmer, and it works really, really well. Ego has a hedge trimmer as well.
Okay.
That's a lot more powerful than the one I've got. But the one I've got works. I mean, for the number of hedges that I use it on, I mean, it'll cut like a 1/2-inch branch.
Yeah.
Does great. And I've got like a little handheld blower. It doesn't do great, but like just for like blowing off a porch or something like that to get some dust out of the way.
Yeah.
I look back on my childhood and think about living in West Texas.
Yeah.
Where haboobs are, right?
Haboob.
And like I could literally make footprints in my porch as I walked on my porch. I'm thinking, man, I would have loved to have this little handheld blower back then, because I had to get out there as one of my chores and sweep off the porch.
Or sweeping the sand off?
Yes. And so having this little blower would have been fantastic.
Well,
back then. Because it doesn't have the most power in the world, but it does great for what it is. So yeah, I mean, you wind up gaining a repertoire of tools, and you look back and you go, man, I've kind of invested here.
Yeah. Well, and the one that we really haven't spent much time talking about is DeWalt.
No.
Which, I mean, and I think this is actually going to be their Achilles heel. I mean, the fact that we're not the fact that we're not talking about them, but like there's not much, while they are a high quality tool, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm like dissing on DeWalt, because
they're great.
They make a fantastic
they do
tool. Here's the problem: is they don't have anything that like distinguishes themselves from anybody else.
Right.
Because while their tools and their batteries are great, I have more selection from Milwaukee. I have more selection from Ryobi. There's nothing about their battery that tells me that it's exceptional above anybody else's. The only thing I think that they have that's similar, I think they do have a weed trimmer that they sell that you can use DeWalt batteries on.
They do, and I'll tell you, it's pretty good. Now, they also have a line of saws that are, so getting into woodworking here for just a moment, one of the coolest inventions in the last few years is the invention of the plunge saw.
Okay.
So do you know what a plunge saw is?
No clue.
So a plunge saw it's a saw that is on a track.
Okay.
And so it kind of replaces the need in some respects for a table saw.
Okay.
So you can lay a track down on a sheet of plywood and make a perfectly straight cut because the saw runs along the track. And so it's perfectly straight. But it's a plunge saw. So instead of having a circular saw that you got to start at one end and cut through a piece of wood, a plunge saw you can take and it sits up like this and then you plunge it down.
Okay.
And it makes a cut and then you can make your cut.
So you sort of pull it down like you would like a miter saw?
Similar, only you're pushing it down instead of pulling it down.
Okay.
Because you're pushing it down and then pushing it through the wood. Okay. Well, why is that important? There's a lot of applications where you're trying to cut a hole.
Okay.
Instead of trying to cut a piece of wood off, you're trying to cut a hole. So if you're cutting cabinetry, for example, a plunge saw is really, really important. It makes life so much easier. Plus, they're really accurate. And so that being said, DeWalt is in that line as well, and I'm pretty sure they've got a cordless one of those that uses their battery. I will also say that DeWalt has just released a 60-volt battery that I believe is backwards compatible to their 20-volt battery system.
Oh, really?
So that 60-volt...
I think it's got to be heavy.
It's got to be. I mean, because I'll tell you this, my 56-volt Ego battery it's pretty big. But that being said, I don't really know. I've not looked at it. I've not seen it. But what I do know is they have it. And I'm pretty sure that it works on their trimmer, for example. It also works on their drill.
Okay.
So I don't really know how that all works. That's just what I'm reading. So if you have any experience with that, let me know because I'd sure like to hear.
Well, I imagine if that is the case, then like other tool systems are going to be able to follow suit. And
I would think so.
I mean, I don't know why. I can't imagine what the necessity of a 60-volt battery on a drill would be when a 18 to 20 volt is fine.
The only thing that makes it necessary is that you can use it for both.
Sure.
Just like you can with a Milwaukee, you can use their 18 for all of their tools. This is one battery for all their tools.
Yeah.
So I think...
But again, like the differentiating thing there is like DeWalt, as far as I know at least, doesn't have like a chainsaw. That
I know of.
That performs like the Milwaukee. It just doesn't have some of those kinds of things that you're like, why? I mean, like, are you doing that because Milwaukee already did it and you just don't want to seem like you're copying it? Or are they trying to develop something that's a little bit different? That I just don't see anything that distinguishes DeWalt for me other than it. I mean, like, again, make a high quality tool. Like, I love their table saw. I think they actually probably make one of the better table saws out there. If I just had to pick amongst them, I might actually just pick the DeWalt. I mean, it's been,
they're great.
Yeah. But I don't see anything that makes them stand out as a product that makes them distinguished amongst the other products.
Except that they do have a chainsaw.
They do have a chainsaw?
They do.
Okay, I just probably hadn't seen it yet then.
They do, and it's their 60-volt max cordless chainsaw. So
do you have to have the 60 volt or
you do for that one?
Okay.
They also, however, have a 20-volt version that's similar. It's less powerful.
Okay.
But they've got one.
Yeah. Okay. Which, I mean, like, honestly, when I saw the Milwaukee one, I was like, how are they doing that on 18 volts? But I mean, like, they're making it work, man.
They are. They are. No, you're absolutely right. So the difference is that 60 volt chainsaw is much more like you're probably like an 18-inch chainsaw, to whereas their 20 volts like a 12-inch.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Which a 12-inch, for those of you who don't know much about chainsaws, a 12-inch chainsaw is not going to do much.
No.
Whereas 18 is a more standard size.
You could actually potentially get a decent sized tree down with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they're doing DeWalt's getting there. I mean, they're definitely entering the game with some of their outdoor, so they've got hedge trimmers.
Do they have a push mower?
They do.
Do they really?
They do.
Does it only work on their 60 volt?
It uses two 20 volt batteries.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, it's again, this is a new product for them, but what we're finding is these companies are learning very quickly that battery power, please hear me on this, people, battery power is more efficient, it is cleaner, and more powerful than gas.
Yeah.
And if you do not believe me, then you need to go find somewhere where you can test it. Buy the tool and try it.
Yeah.
I promise you, you will not be disappointed. It is unbelievable to me how powerful that 56 volt battery is that I use.
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And like for the regular homeowner, I mean, like the need for a compressor anymore is just gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like you don't, I mean, like unless you're someone like me who might occasionally, and like even, and I know people are going to like be yelling at me through you don't need the compressor for that. But like, the impact that you get for taking lug nuts off of certain types of things.
Yep.
That might be the last bastion of the need for like, compression tools.
Yeah. Well, but even then, Ryobi makes.
I know they make it, and
Yeah.
they make one. I don't know that the batteries are there yet to create the same kind of power. I'd be interested to see that kind of ratcheting power that those impacts can make with a good compressor. But at the end of the day, regardless of whether or not they have the same kind of power, the amount of money that you spend for a really good compressor pales in comparison to the cost of the battery and that tool.
Sure does.
So if that tool with the battery gets the job done,
Yeah.
nuts to that $1,500 compressor.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and then that whole other line of tools that you have to connect to it.
Yeah, and so what's bizarre is we've talked about Ego quite a bit. I'm a huge fan of their products for so many reasons. But dude, they've got a generator that runs on batteries.
Yep.
It is 3,000 watts.
Yeah.
A 3,000 watt generator. It'll run any appliance in your home.
Yeah.
And you can put 4 7.5 amp hour batteries on that thing. 4. So, I mean, you're talking like 30 amp hours on this generator.
14, 15 hour generator. Yeah.
Right. So if we're looking at just kind of that formula we were looking at earlier, that's 15 hours of running 3,000 watts.
And Milwaukee has one of these too, don't they?
I don't know.
I remember Eric G telling us that Milwaukee had one.
You're right. I think he did say that. Now that you say that, so
I don't know what the specs on it are, but I think I remember him saying that they.
I don't either. Yeah, I've not looked at it, but I guess we can boil it down to this. We could talk about this for a long time, but we're right at an hour into this, and I think we can kind of sum up some things by saying this: battery powered tools are absolutely incredible. and I'm not just talking about hand tools, I'm talking about lawn tools, which now that we've gotten into lawn tools, absolutely incredible for the environment, absolutely incredible for you're not having to run to the gas station if you need to fill up your lawnmower.
That alone has got to be a major selling point for most people. Not only that, I mean, like oil changes.
Yeah.
On your mower.
Just the maintenance in general that goes into that is, I mean, you're just going to get a longer life out of a battery powered tool than you're going to get out of a gas powered tool.
Well, and let's be fair and talk about the downside here. Because I think while we're saying, you have to run to the gas station, you got to do the maintenance and all this kind of stuff, when it breaks, and it'll break.
Sure.
You can't take it to your local lawnmower repairman.
That's true. However, the price of that tool is pretty inexpensive if you've already got a battery.
Sure. But if you try and get it fixed, let's be honest, you're going to have to deal with the nincompoops at a big box store.
Very likely.
And more than likely, it's going to get shipped off in order to be repaired.
Yeah.
Either that or someone who's entrepreneurial is going to figure out how to fix them and start up his own shop.
Yeah, we're going to get there. But honestly, what's going to break? I mean, the number of internal components is less whenever you don't have a gas engine that you're also running.
Right. My point in saying that though is not that like it's not a good product and that it's going to break all the time. I get that, but like it's different because when your 2-cycle engine goes down, when your gas powered lawnmower goes down, I know how to take it apart.
That's true.
I know how to fix it. Yeah. I can fix it. When these battery operated things go down, when these electrical motors that go down, I don't know how to fix it. I have no clue.
Sure.
And like if I took it apart, I'd probably just make it worse.
Yeah, and again, there is something to be said for the fact that the battery is half the cost of that tool.
Sure.
And so if you're going to pay $200 for a trimmer or $100 for a tool because you don't have to buy the battery, you've already got the battery, hey, I might could spring for $100 not to have to send it off.
Sure.
You know? I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
The maintenance schedule is something that I don't know much about. And more than likely, it's going to have to be something that you're going to have to part with for a while.
Yeah. I will say one of the more impressive things about these types is usually when you're dealing with like innovative things, you're dealing with something that's going to have a much higher cost.
Yeah.
You know, like when I first saw the Ryobi zero-turn battery-powered mower, I was like, good Lord, that's going to be $15,000.
Right.
Well, it was $3,500, $4,000,
right,
which is nothing to sneeze at, but it's not what I expected.
Sure.
For an innovative tool, for something that's new. I mean, because when you see like, the newest flat screen TV come out, I mean, like it's almost always $8,000 to $9,000 for that big honking 82-inch, 24K, whatever it is that they're coming out with now. Like it's just going to be really, really expensive until they sell a few, and then they figure out how to make them cheaper. Right. And this seems to have a little bit more research into it, and that they were able to produce them at a much lower price.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. And I've talked to a guy that knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Ego products, and he tells me that zero turn that Ego's coming out with, it should be available at the beginning of the year, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He says it's just absolutely, and it's going to run on their 56 volt battery. So, I mean, think about that. I mean, again, you're talking about some of these tools, you're having to buy, with some of them, a different battery.
Yeah.
With Milwaukee, you're not having to buy a different battery.
Yeah.
With Ego, you're not having to buy a different battery. Now, they're not in hand tools right now.
Yeah.
But they're in lawn equipment.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like you got your hand tool line and your lawn equipment line, right? So,
and I will say, I mean, like I'm in a lot of people's houses every day, just based off what I do. And it's been interesting to me to notice how many of the Ego products I'm starting to see in people's garages.
Sure.
They're doing something right over there.
They are.
People are really digging their products.
Yeah, I could not tout them higher. They're They're a really, really good company. So, but guys and gals out there that are listening right now, just know that when it comes to these tools, you're getting what you pay for.
Yep.
You're helping the environment by not using a gas-powered emissions type of thing. And all of them are good in some respect. Make a choice. Go down that line, and you're probably going to be happy.
And enjoy.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
because there's good things about all of them.
Sure, and not having to lug a cord around is so cool.
And also, let's not dog on other people for their tool choices.
Right.
You know, if you really believe that they're wrong, just let them experience it and figure it out for themselves.
Yeah, I mean,
except for you, Harbor Freight guy. You just need to shape up.
Although I will tell you, like on some of their tools that are just like hand tools that are not powered,
right?
Hand tools, they have a lifetime warranty like Craftsman does.
Really?
Yes, they do.
For a 10-cent wrench?
Yes, they do. You take it back and they'll give you a brand new one. Most people do not know that about Harbor Freight. Yep. Now you heard it here on the Homeowner Show.
It's a crazy place to go shop, man. Have you ever been in one of them?
Yes, of course. I'll be honest. I got a lot of stuff from Harbor Freight because now I'm very choosy about what I buy from there.
Sure.
I will not buy their floor jacks, but
now that they've been recalled twice, they recalled the recall.
Yeah, they recalled the recall on floor jacks. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to pick my car up.
Don't get understuffed, people.
Yeah, you get what you pay for, right? But there's some things there that I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll pay for that, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've got some bar clamps that I've bought from there. They're exactly the same as what I would get at Lowe's or Home Depot. They work great.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can find what you want at a lot of places. So, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
we got anything else?
Man, I think we've
pontificated. Enough.
We've talked ourselves out at this point, I think. But thanks for staying with us. Listen, our next episode is 100. 100. Baby. That's pretty exciting. Exciting for us. We hope it's exciting for you. If you have not already, stop this. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to our podcast. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in each and every week. We're here every Tuesday. So yeah, till then, we'll see you next time.
See you.